It was the matter of time when I would play this game once I finished Age of Mythology. It is a true successor of the established mechanics and overall atmosphere of a classical RTS game. But now, in 2021, I have 3 reasons to play this game. Firstly, the next Age of Empires will come out this year, so it's a good reason to freshen up my memories how good this game was. And with that, I would be able to compare the new game with the old one. To be fair, I was really hyped up when I saw the news about Age of Empires 4. It is being developed by Relic Entertainment, the creators of Dawn of War series. We will ignore the third game, Company of Heroes and Homeworld. Basically, this is the only AAA studio that still could make a good RTS game. This really could be the returning of the Forsaken genre, but with each new gameplay trailer I became more and more skeptical. I know that this is an alpha stage footage, but still, it just looks strange. They have a lot of ideas and they try to fit them all in the one game. For the very least, it looks like a mess now, but we will see. Maybe Age of Empires will turn out as a good game, we'll see. Secondary, Age of Empires 3 is an amazing game, and if I've said that Age of Mythology is top 10, so this one is easily top 5 RTS of all time. And the final, third reason is that we have 2 different editions of Age of Empires. The old, not remastered one, complete collection, and the new one, definitive edition. In this video I will be showing you the old one, classical edition. I want to figure out for myself what edition I should pick, because I read both good and bad reviews about the new edition. They've added a few nations, improved the graphics a bit, although I can't really tell if they made it really better. On the other hand, they have rewritten the story. Here are a few examples. Developers have changed Native American dances around the fire, Warchief's abilities to tame the animals, and have changed colonial era to commerce. As the person that disgusted by the censorship in any form, this is a pretty noticeable update for me. Besides, I don't understand how these details could be offensive to anyone, but maybe I just don't understand something. Anyways, I don't know how this will change your immersion, so I will play the both versions and will compare. Probably they've made it even better. That's all with the intro, let's move on to the graphics part. Hands down, Age of Empires still looks gorgeous. Even the old edition. It is bright, shiny, juicy. Colors pattern is just marvelous. Amount of attention to the details is incredible. We have a different seasons of a year, rain, sunny weather. We could see footsteps on a snow ground. We have cool reflections in the water, units animated properly, they use torches to burn down the buildings, and the maps here is just amazing. They are so atmospheric, especially the Asian ones. Usually maps in RTS games just bland and boring, but here it's just something special. We have a nice physics, buildings falling apart, sea battles looks like they've been taken right from some high-budget movie, soldiers will fly around if they will be hit by a cannonball, if not, they will fall in a normal, scripted way. In Age of Mythology video I've stated that the minimap was a big mess, you couldn't understand a thing there, but here it's all clear at the sky. The interface on the other hand is not that good. When I played this game as a kid, it was completely fine for my liking, but now, when the most of the games have switched to a more minimalistic approach, it really feels a bit old, clunky, huge, but in comparison with the new version, it looks better. But once again, now when I've played it, I just should check out the new edition to make my final conclusion. For now, I don't like them both. I don't mean these interfaces are bad. It just could have been way better, a bit more compact. Another negative moment is the cutscenes. You really could tell that they are old. In Definitive Edition they've made them way better. But overall graphics is extremely good in my opinion. Models, art style, all of this feels really atmospheric and it's fitting the game's idea. Even now, in 2021, it still holds up. Sound design takes the same high level as the graphics. We have amazing battle sounds, like screams, shouts, musket and artillery shots. We could hear an echo if they are far away. Same with the ambient noise, the game don't feels empty. You really could tell that they've sounded it with care. The only problem that if you will L-tap the game, sometimes a lot of the sounds could just disappear. Music is fine, we have calm orchestric accompaniment or dynamic battle themes. Voice acting is another story. In Age of Mythology it was really good, but here it feels like the actors were just reading from the sheet most of the time. There is no compassion in their work, but it's only valid for a campaign voiceover. Units sounded amazing, every language sounds special and unique. The gameplay as classical as it gets. Gather resources, advance in ages and train your army. But here we have a few upgraded mechanics and a few quality of life improvements. First of all, we have unlimited coin resource in a special buildings like farms with food. We also could gather it from whales, so there is no need to chase your coin mines. Every nation has its own hometown. There you could pick cards and then you could request them as shipments. It could be units, resources, upgrades, etc. To get these shipments, you should fill your experience bar in skirmishes. Progressions works in the same way as in Age of Mythology. You could choose a type of leader for your current era and you will have nice bonuses. We also have a modern relics, different treasures on the map that you could find and collect, most of them guarded by neutrals. AI here is better than in previous games, they really could help you. Send you resources, send you the troops, fight your enemy, etc. In game they could speak to you. Combat system itself is a classical rock, paper, scissors game. Spearman beats cavalry, cavalry gets archers, etc. In addition to this old system we also have an artillery. It's extremely powerful, but in the same way it's expensive. Pathfinding is also improved. Your soldiers will march in different formations and will avoid obstacles, but still they will pick just the nearest enemy if you use attack on area. You should micromanage this moment. Talking of which, this game is highly adjustable. You have a ton of options for your hotkeys and your unit's behavior. Pretty useful for the players that want to have a full control over their troops. Basically that's it. Just learn how to gather resources and improve your city to get more powerful upgrades. At first I thought that in this old collection this is a cool feature to get experience. In the new one you already have all the cards you need. As the player that wasted hundreds of hours on this game, it's too repetitive to farm it all over again, so I would probably will take the new one in terms of time economy. And now I will make a short summary of all playable nations. British is the most generic among them all, in my opinion. Overall strong without major flaws. Neither strong sides. They get additional settler when they build a house. They could train a longbowsman and have an imperial upgrade for a musketeer. Dutch, in my opinion, is the weakest nation in the entire game. They have no regular musketeers, instead they got a unique dragoon unit, Reuter. That is pretty fine. Their settlers require gold instead of food, thus they have a unique building, Bank, but amount of gold that it produces is miserable, it's not worth the trouble. Overall they depend more on economic superiority and later in the game they could get powerful mercenaries. It probably would work as a concept of the richest nation if only banks could give you more coin. Portuguese is a late game nation. They could not bring additional settlers and most of their upgrades is more suited for their soldiers. We have a unique musketeer, Caçador and a special artillery unit, the organ gun. Also we have a few additional upgrades for the dragoon. Overall anti-infantry nation that should hold on till the later ages where they could get their most powerful shipments and upgrades. French is a strong and overall balanced nation. They have a nice variety of economic shipments, their settler is a bit more expensive but gathers resources faster and they have a strong unique melee cavalry unit, Cuirassier. Also, they have a few late game upgrades for artillery and infantry. Germans is your rush and attack nation. They receive uhlans with each shipment and their economic upgrades could give you an early boost. They also could ask for a unique settler that gathers resources faster. Instead of standard musketeers, they've got Doppelsoldners, an interesting nation but not the easiest to play with. Ottomans is the most interesting European nation. They could not train settlers, they appear in time for free. They have a lot of unique units. The most interesting perhaps is Abyss gun. Overall they are strong, but if you will break their defense and will kill their settlers, it's pretty much over. Spanish is my personal favorites. They simply got it all. Different infantry, unique and strong cavalry. There is no problem with artillery either. They get experience faster and their shipments will arrive sooner. And that's all with the classical ones. Let's talk about Native Americans. The main problem that they obviously lack technology to evenly fight the other nations. They have a fire pit that could give you a damage bonus, more experience, this kind of stuff. In Definitive Edition, both this and animal taming were changed because they were offensive somehow. Anyway, I would pick a factory instead of this pit any day of the week. All of 3 Native American nations basically just aggressive rushers, and the only real positive moment that in the open field their infantry really could outbest Europeans. Aztecs is your big guy nation, probably the strongest infantry in the game due to the fact that they have no cavalry and siege weapons at all, but attack range of these archers is just insane. Sioux is highly mobile nation. They have cavalry that could solve almost any problem. Just raid your enemies and suffer from their defensive structures because you have no siege weapons. Yeah. Iroquois is the most balanced nation among these 3, and additionally they have at least somewhat siege weapons. Native Americans are really atmospheric but hard to play nations. They really been outmatched most of the time. And now let's talk about Asian nations. All of them evolves throughout the eras with the wonders that gives them great bonuses. In addition, they could build consulates to produce a special resource, export. With that, they could buy different upgrades and units. Asians really could compete with Europeans. Japanese is a really cool nation. They could send almost any shipments twice, they have a strong army, and their houses could produce resources. They have a few interesting types of heroes with useful abilities. Overall, solid and strong nation. Top tier in my opinion. I would call Chinese an aggressive nation, but they are weak at the start. They need to establish economy first. They train their units in packs and they prefer quantity rather than quality. They have an extremely useful wonders and villages that gives a lot of population cap. Another strong nation in my opinion, but not without its flaws. And the last one, Indians. They are similar with Spanish. Overall strong nation, have everything you need. Their villagers cost wood, and this is insanely helpful in terms of early economy, although you could change it to food with your shipments if you want. The negative side that their wonders is not that great, but probably it's for the balance sake. Asian nations is great, strong and interesting to play with, probably even more interesting than Europeans. And a few words about the campaigns. Developer tried to make missions as interesting as possible. Most of the time you have to do something or you will have to complete a few objectives. In some missions you should achieve certain amount of experience, in another you won't be able to train settlers. Missions with no base are also on the table. In the most cases we will have at least something at the start of the mission. A few soldiers, a few buildings, so on the greater scale the game not tries to waste your time but entertain you instead. To be honest, we also have a lot of similarities with Age of Mythology, for example, the convoy missions. We have 3 different campaigns in this edition. I will start with the main one. In the first act we will be playing as Morgan Black, the Knight of St. John on Malta. The first mission we will be attacked by Ottomans. Later on we will find out about the Circle of Ossos, a local Illuminati group. I'm serious. They want to control the Fountain of Youth, thus we will go to America. Before we get there we will meet Lizzie, a pirate captain. At first we will fight her, but later she will help us blah blah. It appears that our commander Alain was an Illuminati member all along. So we will fight him in the final mission and we will destroy the Fountain of Youth. That's it. In the second act we will play as John Black, a grandson of Morgan Black. Here we will fight a lot of Brits, we will meet Washington and we will have a lot of Native American vibes. John will fall in love with his friend's sister and they will have a child, but unfortunately he will be killed while he will be trying to stop the circle. In the third act we will be playing as Amalia Black, great granddaughter of Morgan Black. Nothing dramatic, just casual fights with the circle. Usually I don't like campaigns in RTS games, but here it's not that bad. Yes, we have a few boring missions where we should stand our ground, but I've seen much worse than that. In standard campaign we have storyline that goes throughout all acts that keeps a player interested. Developers tried to make the missions as interesting as possible and probably they succeeded. Despite the fact that we have a few longer ones, most of them have some interesting objectives and we have troops and resources at the start, so we shouldn't waste enormous amount of time to establish our base. In the War Chiefs campaign we will play as Nathaniel Black and George Washington in the first act, and as the Chayton Black, a son of Amalia Black, in the second act. Not much to talk about. You will like this campaign if you like the second and the third acts from the original one. Also, it could be interesting for ones who like history of American Civil War. First act plays around the few main battles of it. As the negative side, the campaign not introduces us to the 3 new factions that well. You should learn how to play them by yourself. Asian Dynasty's campaign is way better, probably even more exciting than the original one. Here we have 3 stories. The first one will tell us about the Japanese general and his story with Master Tokugawa that killed his parents. The second one will show us hypothetical story about Chinese treasure ship. This campaign feels similar with one in Age of Mythology. Not that good, but still okay. And the third one will show us tragic events during the Indian rebellion against British Empire in the time of East India Company. I really liked all of these campaigns. Actually, they're one of the best in RTS genre. Missions usually are interesting and we have a great story with the cutscenes. Totally would recommend. The final conclusion. What could I say? Beautiful, amazing game, one of the best in its genre that still holds up and feels fresh and unique. If you never played it, you definitely should. If you did, well, try it again. I've got a ton of positive emotions. Another question is, which edition should you pick? At first I would choose this one, the classical one. But now when I think this through, I'd probably would pick Definitive Edition. But I should play it to tell you for sure.